everyone. We are back again with another Risk Insurance Dialogues interview. Today I'm very excited. We have Vince Vossel, and he is the Vice President of the Sedgwick SIU department. So thank you so much, Vince, for joining us today.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely. So to get us started, can you just talk a little bit about your current role and what your day-to-day kind of looks like?
Sure. As Vice President, Client Services here for Sedgwick SIU, my daily role is really dealing with those Fortune 1000 accounts and self-insureds here with Sedgwick. Sedgwick is international, so it's spread throughout, obviously, the world. We focus on North America, and our focus, again, on the Fortune 1000s typically here that work with Sedgwick. And then, of course, where we can put our program and implement our products here and services for other clients of Sedgwick itself.
Perfect. And so I know we talked the other day about kind of your well-rounded career and how you've come to your current role at Sedgwick. So can you kind of walk us through your key steps and your mindset that really helped you grow into this leadership position that you're in today?
Sure. So I started with Sedgwick about 15 years ago. In fact, it'll be 15 years in January. We were acquired when I was working as a private investigator for a company called Factual Photo at the time. They were throughout North America, and at the time here, I think we had about 160 investigators. Sedgwick included us here. At the time, I think they were 3,300 employees. So it was a small entry level, and we joined to find now, just 15 years later, we're at 33,000 employees. So really what it was getting in at ground level. The opportunity came for myself. I was working on the operation sides at that time, came through the acquisition. And I had an opportunity then to really help from the ground level up here for Sedgwick SIU, developing both our services, what we've had for technology, the development, and really the direction that we've had as a unit. I was at that ground floor, so very blessed to have that opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure it's so interesting to go in at ground level and then see this company grow into what it is today. I'm sure that was a very unique experience that not a lot of people get to have.
You know, we heard that from our partners, in fact. So when we started, again, as Factual Photo, we came in and became Sedgwick SIU and dropped our name, but it doesn't mean we knew who wasn't out there in the field, in the industry. And many of those partners are our approved partners now throughout our program. So we've had long-standing relationships. We had relationships when we were outside working with them, and now we've been working with them for 15 years that the honest truth is they were waiting for us as well to kind of see what direction we were going to go. It was so new for a TPA to have an SIU at the time, and then with the growth, the enormous growth that we had, how we could scale with it was one of those other very difficult parts. But as Sedgwick, again, kind of pulling together and pulling those strings, we worked very closely with the casualty side, and they were able to help us really develop a plan and some of those growth bridges that we've had over the years here that have been so successful to SIU's success.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, it is so, Sedgwick SIU is such a known name too. So it's so great to see all the exciting things that you're doing that we're going to talk about here in a little bit. But so kind of now for those people early in their careers, maybe coming into insurance or just kind of looking for where they want to, guide their career to, and maybe if they're interested in SIU or this type of investigative work, what skills or kind of qualities can they develop to really stand out when they're trying to enter this specific line of insurance?
One of the great things about this industry is you do not have to specialize in this from a college degree. You don't have to specialize in this from being in law enforcement. You have to specialize in being accountable and disciplined. That is truly it. I say that, and that goes across, Katie, I think you would agree, any line if adjusters, examiners, field investigators, research investigators, SIU investigators, you have to be so thorough and accountable. By the time you get to a level of working with an SIU, it becomes natural. But that experience comes with time. That experience comes with, as I like to say, failures at times as well. It's what we learn from most. So when you have the ability to work with people that have been in the industry for more years, even decades longer than you, you should be humbled. You should learn from them. But it kind of goes in line with what the next question is, Katie, and what do you have to do to prepare them for a career? What got us here 15 years ago, 5 years ago, is not what's going to get us into the future, right? We see now already We've gone from rules-based technologies that were out there back in the 2010s and early 2000s. We go to analytics that are out there now, right? We have, I think you said it as well in one of your questions, was data mining. Big data that was out there at the time, and now we're into AI. I think I skipped over predictive modeling in there as well, but again, in 15 years, how quickly it has shifted. And all of those sound familiar to you, which you got to go, wow, you're right, I've seen those. And as we sit in AI now, I think we're in that next structure that we're all going to be able to build on. I think it's a foundation we can work with. I think, and dare I say, I would never compare it to a Google, but I say in the sense, it's something we will build a foundation on that we'll start to just call it AI, right? Whether you're using a Claude, a Genesis, a Copilot as we do here, Sedgwick has developed its own AI as well structure for its examiners. It takes our red flags into consideration from an SIU. It takes managed care into consideration. All of that brought in then to help those decisions and help those claims move along quicker for our examiners. Well, we're using it similarly in SIU. Everything that we've done in SIU has been reactive for an entire career. Your career, my career, anyone's career. Now with AI, we're starting to get ahead of it. Now, are we proactive? No, I don't know when claims are going to happen, but we watch the weather, right? And it's that type of thing that we're able to use AI as. We're watching the weather, we're watching the trends, we're watching where things are going. At Sedgwick SIU, we developed a little higher level team as well. Right now, we've got a major claims team that we developed of 9 investigators that is watching just that technology, working with our clients on a regular basis, reaching out to examiners when claims score. You have to have that ability. Now, again, that's that interdisciplinary cross-knowledge that you're going to have between humans and computers, and that's how it's going to continue to work, I see, in investigations. You're never going to be able to sub for judgment, that experience level, and really what the next level is, maybe the investigation. I think that's where you find a lot of the value in these folks, is understanding where technology is going, where it's still going to remain limited, and then putting yourself and positioning yourself in that area.
Yeah, and that was kind of a great transition into what our next topic was. And I love that you bring that up because there's so many different parts of insurance that are now evolving, like you said, that we're trying to get ahead of. Now we have tools like catastrophic modeling, we have all these predictive tools, and we're kind of trying to figure out now how do we use them, right? So how would you say specifically, like for the SIU teams, how are they really like using all this technology to their advantage to get ahead of things?
So one of the things you see at Sedgwick is you're turning a battleship, right? So anytime these things happen, you've got to have some momentum going into it, and we have been working with AI for the past 3 years here internally with Sedgwick. So we're familiar with the analytic AIs that are out there. In fact, that's what we use now as a scoring tool. But where we see it going, and I say that, is becoming even more integrated into our own work. You can go 2 different directions. You can have a bolt-on scoring tool, or a scoring tool from maybe a third party, or you can develop your own, and something Sedgwick's always done is develop their own internally first. We have a lot of data, and one of the things I say during my presentations is, I think after Meta, Facebook, and the CIA, there's Sedgwick, and that's how much data we have. And so, we protect it, we ensure that, we utilize it right, though, and I think that's what Sedgwick SIU is doing now, is how can we use that data? And really what we're trying to do is I don't want to say predict, but understand better when these surface, how quickly can we be effective on these? We've seen duration of claims go years, and everyone's excited because we finally find fraud after 6-7 years through the providers. Why weren't we finding that earlier on? And that's not a failure on SIU's part. There's a communication, there was a barrier of information that wasn't available at the time. That's what's going to break down, and you should see the efficiencies improve. Major claims teams should become invaluable, and you'll start seeing larger settlements and coming back. I think you'll see a lot more provider fraud exposed throughout more than just the country of California, as I like to say. But right now, I think that's really it, is determining, with this momentum, how can we really make an impact when we hit this and be as proactive as possible. The way we're using it, again, we're looking for certain claims and patterns that we have and our AI is scoring certain things where we're able to go in then, and as we see that, let's say it's triggering more often, it's able to send us notes, in which case now there's an automatic note that we're hoping with technology and with our IT here at Sedgwick starts to pre-populate also within, let's say, the juris system, as you're familiar with. So that's the technology and the communication we have. The problem is sometimes you have those gaps, those hallucinations on, it's like a false positive that may come back here in AI. We don't want those generated. So what we're still doing is policing it with our own team through SIU, understanding what's going out to the examiner before we just let loose and let technology try and run this. Again, I don't think you're ever going to avoid the stopgap of an SIU in these cases because of that experience and judgment level there.
Yeah. And that was one thing that I wanted to talk about briefly is, you know, there's this big question of all these AI tools coming in. Are they going to replace everyone? Are we going to all, you know, is there going to be a limit at the amount of jobs needed? Do you have a certain opinion or view on that for those people that are maybe scared of AI and the technology coming out?
You're talking to someone that when I started my career, I was using a camera the size of a shoebox, you know? And I was doing surveillance in the field, running around in the back of a blacked out van. The more technology, the smaller I can get my cameras, the more that I can do without having to be on site, right? Let's be honest. Putting a body out there, I've got liability. Putting a body out there, someone can be seen. What other options are out there? And I'm talking, you know, kind of the camera side and the technology side. Social media did not, dating myself, social media did not really exist when I started. And I remember when it really took hold in 03, 04, with something called MySpace at the time. It was carte blanche. It was wide open, and it was the Wild West in the sense of what the internet had and what was available. To watch that develop now and what we are utilizing social media investigations for, what's available online for license plate recognition, right? I think you might be familiar with that, where now all your cameras that are out there, your red light cams, your toll cams, police cameras that are out there, repo men, right? They all have those cameras where if you're going down a row at a gym or you're going down a row at a grocery store, it's reading all those license plates. And yes, they're looking for the one or two stolen vehicles or the one they need to repossess. But all that other information is being generated and accumulated as well, and those are some of those things that we're using then in SIU now to find out that our subject was at the grocery store between these hours on such and such nights. Maybe they're working secondary employment. Maybe it's a situation where they're out picking and dropping off kids, they're coaching a team after hours. So to utilize, again, where I don't have to necessarily have an investigator out there working it, still being able to determine this information is priceless to me. Unmanned surveillance cameras that are out there, remote cameras. I don't have to put a body out there. I can put a camera out there that's going to run 24/7, probably better quality than what's going to be on my TV, unless you got a 4K TV or, you know. That's what's out there and available these days right now in regards to technology for the field. We've all seen the cams and glasses, cams and watches. Those have been around forever, but it really is unbelievable where it's gone in just the last 15 years, much less my 26-year career. And I foresee now a lot more probably going to be within your computers and your AI and your technology and your platforms, your search systems, what they're doing for you instead of what they're necessarily providing as results. It's a different way of thinking.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a good point. I think it's not even that we're going to get replaced, it's that we're going to be able to do our job more efficiently.
That's it.
And, you know, be able to find things, like you said, that maybe we wouldn't have seen when you have 10,000 other things to do. Maybe if you only have 400 other things to do, then you'll be able to catch a lot of this stuff. So that's a great point, and I think, yeah, it's one of those things of there's no need to be scared. It's supposed to now help us be able to do our jobs better.
You know, I think a lot of times people hid behind, I'm doing my job, I don't want them to know when I'm grabbing my coffee. And I work remotely. People will know I'm going to grab a coffee. I think it comes down to understanding, because I have other efficiencies, or because I've got this handled, if you will, I'm able to go and grab that coffee. And I've actually taken it upon myself here as this AI has developed in the last year to take some classes. The 5-hour Google class to get an idea, working with certain apps like Notion, and developing my own bots. Now Sedgwick won't allow those in because of security practices totally understandable, but I wanted to understand it. So taking it upon myself, and that's where I really think people need to do that. I give you that information because even the old dogs got to learn these new tricks, and that's what we're doing right now, is being aggressive in our own education as well.
Absolutely. And now we kind of touched on this a little bit, but with all this new tech coming out that we've talked about, how can these experienced investigators and adjusters, you know, the people that have been in the industry now for a while, how can they really continue to adapt? I think a good point, like you said, is taking courses with AI, trying to learn these new tools instead of kind of running away from them. But how can they adapt to these new tools while kind of leveraging that critical human judgment that is so useful in all this SIU work, claims work, and so forth?
I feel like humans get away from what we're good at, which is communicating. And we start communicating then through technology, and we think they're doing a better job. How many of us have all put an email through Copilot? It looks great. It's wordier, it's cleaner. It's probably what I was trying to say, except I really just needed 2 bullet points. You know? So keeping in mind it's going to do the work, but is it really what you need it to be doing? Taking into consideration, I think it's going to be a part of our lifestyle. Learn where you can work that into what we do on a daily basis.
Absolutely. So kind of how can these experienced adjusters, people that have been in the industry a while, can they continue to kind of leverage the critical human judgment while then using these new tools?
We had a great leadership meeting yesterday. That's what it was reminding me of. And during our leadership, our president had mentioned, and she's very refined in how she speaks, and it was very clean, that you can't replace empathy, you can't replace judgment, you can't replace experience. And those are those things that right now they're piloting. Those examiners, those adjusters are piloting everything that's important to a claim. Claimants don't understand what's going on. They don't understand the process. Now I work in a unique world here of your smaller percent and those that are suspect, but I have been through a number of claims. Just last winter I had 3 claims in 2 weeks. I was involved in an accident where we were hit head on. My garage burned down 2 weeks later, and then a week after that we were rear-ended in another vehicle. So I'd never been through claims. I've spent 25 years in my industry and was only looking at suspect and only looking at everything from one lens. You truly have to understand what is done by examiners and adjusters, even SIU investigators. It can't be replaced. And again, I'll put it back to empathy, judgment, and experience. It's so important. It's so vital. It's what's gotten us through what we've had to do in rebuilding my family here just this last year as well. So not to get too personal, but I thought I'd bring it out because it truly is something that's important to me, that I've seen what's been valuable, that's irreplaceable, and who I've been working with here through my claims.
Yeah, and I think that's the one thing that we should all try and remember is these are real people that we're dealing with. These are real situations, real
Right.
families, and it's so important that we continue with that human aspect of things because people are scared. They don't know what's going on with their claim. They want to be able to pick up the phone and talk to a person. They don't want ChatGPT to respond to their email. You know, they want a person to respond. So I think that's a great point that you've done.
You know, and that's that personal experience. If I had to say it from a professional experience, discipline and accountability, those are those things again. As a human, that's what's going to get you here. But you really need to decipher what is making you unique and what your job can kind of put on AI and what makes you something as unique in your role. And for me to say it's A, B, and C, I kind of give you some of the generals. But you know every day something that you do that's irreplaceable, that someone doesn't know. And again, you're keeping a claimant or a family here at peace by just working with them through this process. Again, 25 years experience that I had. I'd never been on this side here to this level, and I've never depended more personally and appreciated the empathy and just the response that we got. So it truly is important here from that aspect.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me. This was a really great conversation and some great points. So again, thank you for your time.
Absolutely. Thank you again, Katie, for the opportunity. Take care. Have a great day.
Thanks.